You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Hannegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Modesto Tacos, Tequila, Whiskey, right here at the corner of Burbank and Nicholson on a rainy Wednesday. Welcome to Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Hannegriff, Jimmy Ott, Max Gocho. Jordan Kitchen's back in the studio. Randy McKay will be with us today. Scott Rabelais with us today. Wes Reynolds with us today. Wes out checking out one of the celebrity golf tournaments in Indiana today, where Caitlin Clark was the main attraction.
He's in Indiana today?
I don't know if he's just posting a picture from there or if he's actually there, but apparently it's people he knows. So we'll see what he has to say about that. Jimmy, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you?
Good.
SEC teleconference is always on Wednesday. Sometimes it's just a lot of coach speak, and sometimes we get some hard news out of it. And take this for what it's worth, but Billy Napier says that DJ Lagway has continued to practice in a controlled manner. He is trending in the right direction, progressing every day. There's a chance that he will play in this game on Saturday. I'll be honest with you, when I watched him, taken off the field at Jacksonville against against Georgia, I thought that was probably it for his season. But he dressed out and warmed up last week before he, went back to the locker room, put his street clothes on, and watched last week's game. And he's a possibility for this week's game. Nobody watches practice over there, so, what I mean is they're not allowed access to really see. So is Lagway an actual threat to play, or is this just Napier playing games? I don't know. I never did see him actually, the warm-ups. I saw him out there, Jim, but I didn't see him moving. I don't know if you did.
He's stressed out.
Yeah.
They didn't show. I didn't see any either. But as soon as they came out, his pads were off, and he was just in a jersey.
Yeah.
And pants. So I don't think it was a really game time decision. I thought it was your typical games are being played. I guess, but
or that he's just getting a workout in, a warm-up period in, just to, that's his rehab for the day. Who knows?
Not on game day.
Stay out the way, go out there and break a sweat.
If you're not playing, man, get out the way. Shoot.
It's him, though, and he does provide a show for the other team if you're going to, you're going to prepare for him at home.
We've seen this. Where they dress out the quarterback, he warms up, and he doesn't even dress out. So we've seen these games. The line tells me he's got a chance to play.
That they believe that he's very much in the mix. We're on Wednesday. We got 3 days to go. Who knows?
Oh, you think it's –
No, I agree with you. I'm saying –
What is in the mix and what's playing?
Who knows? It's a hamstring. And he's
right.
This will be 3 weeks from the day that he got the hamstring. 3 weeks. That's generally
Saturday will be 3 weeks.
Saturday will be 3 weeks. That's generally not enough for a serious hamstring injury. How serious was it? I don't know. But they're keeping hope alive that he will play this weekend against LSU. Don't know. We'll see.
There's a big dip.
Yeah, it's everything for this game.
Dip.
With Warner, if LSU loses, and Aiden Warner, God bless him, okay, but you're talking about a walk-on, a freshman. He was completely outmatched in their last game. If LSU loses with him as the starting quarterback, God bless, okay, then they've got even bigger problems. But if Lagway plays and he can run at all, well
he's going to be hesitant.
You would think,
yeah.
Limited, hesitant. But if he plays and he provides that ability to run, it gives them
even a hesitant Lagway gives them a way better shot.
Right. Yeah. It's everything in this game, and LSU's got pressing problems that they've got to fix, regardless who plays quarterback for the Gators. But if Warner plays and you lose, then I struggle to deal with just how big a catastrophe that would be. If Lagway plays and he gives you the same problems that the last two running quarterbacks have given you, then you're really going to say, hey, wait a minute, what's the deal here? Can you not? Alabama's making adjustments in the first quarter. You're not making adjustments over a 3-week period, or you can't get you guys to play better. Brian Kelly says basic fundamentals, the problems plaguing Garrett Nussmeier right now. Trying to simplify it. Less is more. Make it easier. His footwork is the primary culprit, according to Kelly, which is also not unusual for. We call him an inexperienced quarterback. He's an older quarterback, but it's still it's still less than a full season's worth of starts here. Quarterbacks to get their footwork out of line, that happens.
Oh, he's been that way all year. I mean, he's been throwing off his back foot, not stepping into his balls. I mean, that's been the majority of the year. Doesn't take a loss to identify that.
So that's the football news. That's your update on you two quarterbacks.
I thought we start more with the rankings. So.
Oh well, that was where I was going.
I mean,
next.
it's LSU's. I mean, kind of out of this thing, man. Shoot.
Right there's a mathematical path for them to get to the SEC championship game, but that's not terribly realistic. It's a long shot, but there was more outrage, if you want to use that word, over where the SEC teams were seeded last night as opposed to where the Big Ten teams were seeded last night. What did you think? There's you heard Feinbaum just at the end of last hour screaming about, well, how can you do this to Georgia? Well, Georgia just got run off the field. Got run off the field by a pretty good team. They just got run off the field. And they lost at Alabama, and they didn't look terribly good at Kentucky. On the other hand, they played this monster schedule, which Indiana has not played, which Penn State has not played, which Notre Dame has not played. So we get back to the same argument that we had when it was the Bowl Alliance, when it was the BCS, when it was a 14 playoff, and now when it's a 12-team playoff, which is, what do you value more, strength of schedule or your overall record?
Most committees like this one's overall record.
Yes.
And, I mean, it does. How do you expect people to schedule tougher when you and I think Texas gets a bump because, they're in the SEC. Well, they're in the SEC, but it's a soft schedule. I mean, when you have 16 teams, they're going to be just some variance in different schedules, and shame on the SEC. But I mean, this was very predictable. I mean, what'd you think Texas' record was going to be right now? 8-1.
Yeah.
I mean, number 3? What the hell have they done? They beat Vanderbilt by 3 points. It's their best win.
If you look at their record as opposed to, say, SMU's record, okay?
Danny Cannell's going crazy on that.
Yeah, well,
and he rightfully so.
He's got a point.
No, absolutely. Who's the strength of schedule?
Strength of schedule for Texas is number 40. Hang on, let me get this right. Best win, Power 410. I'm going through all my numbers here. 14 in strength of record against number 11 in strength of record. Their best win.
No, strength of schedule.
They use strength of record more. They use strength of record more than strength of schedule. But yeah, strength of schedule is what?
56 for who? Texas. And what is Indiana's? I mean, what is SMU's?
I was looking. I got the strength of record.
81, 56 and 81.
Best win for SMU is against the top 20. Their loss came against the top 10 team by 3. They got 4 wins against power teams with a winning record. Let's keep it to that. That'll be a simple number. 4 wins against power 4 teams with a winning record by an average of 14 points. Texas has 1 win against a power 4 team with a winning record. 1. And it was by 3 points. The aforementioned Vanderbilt win.
SMU beat Louisville on the road. But they're in their top 25, their rankings, the committee's rankings. Who else do they have a win over?
They've got wins against Louisville. They got a win against Pitt. They got a win against
this
Duke.
week.
They got a win against Duke.
Duke's
and they
not
got
in their top 25.
And they got a win against. Well, that's pretty much it as far as the top ones.
Well, BYU staying undefeated in number 6 in their poll, and Georgia's number 12 in their poll. Now, I mean, what?
You beat Louisville, Stanford, Duke, Pitt, and TCU. That's your schedule.
Yeah.
And for Texas, which this is hurting a lot of the.
They could lose to A&M and still be in.
They could.
Probably will be.
They could.
And that's.
Most of this stuff is gonna sort itself out. You've got this logjam with all these SEC teams with 2 losses. They're not going to all stay with 2 losses. And when the ones that win,
Tennessee might join them with 2 losses.
Well, without Nico, I would say that's probably.
Yeah, that's a
it was going to be
probability.
likely with him, much less without him, going to Athens this weekend. And you're going to get credit for that win. So.
If A&M beats Texas, I mean, that's not that far away. 2 results, and you got, I mean, Alabama's going to win out. Ole Miss is going to win out. Georgia,
This is why I'm not completely outraged, because I know this stuff is going to work it out. Do we think that the SEC is going to get 4 teams in?
Yes.
Okay. We don't think they're going to get 3. We don't think they're going to get 5. If they get 3 or 5, then we'll have that discussion. But we thought before the season they were going to get 4 teams in.
Right.
I still think they're going to get 4 teams in. Enough of these teams have to play each other that the two lost teams will sort each other out, I think, by the time the committee's got to make their ultimate selection.
And it's the way it falls, too. I mean, the Big Ten is so top-heavy. I mean,
Right.
they're just not some teams that can be pretty good or not that good.
Don't we think that the 4 teams out of the Big Ten are going to still be the 4 teams out of the Big Ten? Regardless, I mean, I have a hard time telling you.
I would have had 4 different teams before the season started.
No. I'm talking about from right now to the end of the season.
Well, no, they're 4 of the top 5 rankings.
Right, and there's nobody going to catch them from behind, and none of them are going to fall out. We thought before the season 4 Big Ten teams, and we still think
Indiana's
4
going to drop some. They're going to lose to Ohio State.
But at 11-1, we still think that they're
in.
That they're in.
Yeah.
Okay. And we think that
they're not going to stay.
And Oregon and Ohio State are going to play each other again. If Ohio State beats Indiana, they're going to play each other again in the Big Ten championship game, and the loser's still in, right?
Yeah.
And Penn State's still
you're talking
in.
about some home teams, being 5 to 8 as opposed to 9 to 12.
Now the order, yeah.
That's where you. There. Georgia going to Penn State. Georgia's going to be favored. Georgia will be favored at Penn State.
Well, and let's do what the committee's got. Ole Miss is going to Penn State.
Ole Miss at Penn State.
They would be a
pick them.
Okay. Alabama at Penn State if it fell that way.
Alabama be a favorite.
Mm-hmm.
It's just still branding, with Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I think Ole Miss is better than those 2 teams. But
Tennessee at Ole Miss if Nico plays.
I could see Penn State being a slight favorite.
Okay,
there. Yeah.
but they're
keep
all
in mind Alabama was favored at Tennessee. There's significant point spread value there.
And the world watched Saturday night.
But put Penn State to go to Alabama. We're talking about 8 points. We're talking about more than a touchdown. You know, you talk about Penn State beat the underdog by Tennessee. Penn State would be more than a touchdown underdog at Ole Miss or Georgia. No. Sure. So that's the big deal. You giving some of these Big Ten teams a chance hosting instead of where they should be traveling. Three teams from the Big Ten with the middle part and the back end of that conference being so weak. Think of all the teams that are not. Is USC as good as they're supposed to be? Is Michigan supposed to be good as they're supposed to be? Well, that's 2 teams that are supposed to be. That's some of your stronger teams.
Yeah, I'm going to ask this question again because I've been asking it for most of the season. When we get to sorting these SEC 2-loss teams, one of them's going to get in the SEC championship game, and there's a pretty decent chance that one of them's going to lose. So
you can't penalize the team for having to play an extra game.
That's what I think too, but I'm not certain of that. Especially if they go in and it's a bad loss.
I'm not certain either. I'm not certain either.
So if Georgia gets in with the 2 losses that they got now and loses to, say, Texas or Alabama or whoever, then are they going to be penalized for that loss? And you have the ultimate recency bias. You're going to watch the SEC championship game.
Georgia's in. Georgia's the best candidate for
because of their strength of schedule. Yeah.
Well, just with their team, and they played some. Man, their losses are 2 tough teams on the road.
Yeah, and they had to play 3 tough teams on the road, and they went and got a win in one of those
destroyed
things.
Your number 3 team. I mean, come on.
But we will be dealing with the ultimate recency bias if they lose. We're talking about a Saturday night loss in the SEC championship game. The game will be over, early part of the day. Then you go right in that committee room at 11 o'clock the next morning. You got to make that. You got to make that call. I think they should be in. And I don't think they should be penalized because if you're going
to put it's BYU at 12-1 creates a problem. Undefeated BYU loses a Big 12 championship game. That's your worst scenario for Georgia, absolutely, because you got to put them in. You got to put them in. 10-3 Georgia or 12-1 BYU. I'm sorry, man. That's gonna be hard to keep them out.
Yeah, it is.
What about 10-3 Alabama? Same thing, huh?
I think you can say
they're ahead of Georgia now.
Yeah,
7-2.
Sure, all of those things
because Alabama beat Georgia and Ole Miss beat Georgia. So when it's close, they do that.
And what about? And I think that they would be in. But what about an 11-2 Texas? They get in that SEC championship game.
Man,
it's going to be who you beat.
Why 11-2 Texas is in for sure. 10-3 Texas. No, then it gets.
I don't know if a 10-2 Texas team is going to get in the SEC championship game because they lose most of the tiebreakers. The teams that played Mississippi State are in a little bit of bad shape on the tiebreakers.
10-2, they're in, and that shouldn't be the case. So a team that say Georgia's 10-2 and Texas is 10-2, and they have to go play in the SEC championship game, and they played a much tougher schedule, and they whooped you. You're gonna put them at 10-3. You're gonna put them Texas ahead of them at 10-2 just because they have one less loss? That would be criminal. That would be unbelievable.
That's where I'm going.
It's got a chance because they kissed Texas' ass.
Who would Texas have beaten?
And I know everybody says they don't do it, but until you show me otherwise that they don't, I mean, damn.
Your best win in some of these scenarios is Texas's best win at 11-2 is over a Texas A&M team that would be ranked probably somewhere in the teens.
Order your Thanksgiving meal from Roca Pizzeria. That's right, man. You got to see the menu that they have, man. Well, Roca Pizza, they're doing brisket, they're doing turkeys, they're doing all the sides, they're doing desserts. I mean, check it out, RocaPizzeria.com. 5 p.m. Sunday, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, on Sunday, November 22nd. Call us over here at Modesto for holiday catering, 470-0860. Or order online at eatmodesto.com for Modesto catering for game days or for the holiday season as well. And also come to Modesto, last 2 games for LSU home games. We've got the game day specials, 32-ounce gallon margaritas, frozen or rocks, or for here or to go. And also check our social media for new chef's tacos that rotate from time to time over here at Modesto. Modesto on Burbank, just off of Nicholson.
Live at lunch from Modesto 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, you can always get the show on demand, new LouisianaSports.net, plus 1045ESPN.com. New Handycast up from Monday. Richard Dixon and I went through the film, showed you some of the mistakes that LSU made against Alabama and some of the things Alabama was able to take advantage of. Did you get a little college hoops in last night?
I did have to tell you that you're talking about power rating, strength of schedule, strength of record, the whole bit. They're ESPN's FPI, their Football Power Index, their power rating, is number 1, huh?
Probably Alabama. I don't
Yes.
know. Sure, of course it is. Alabama just stays number 1 in that damn statistic. It doesn't matter who they play. It doesn't matter what the score is. It doesn't matter who wins. Alabama just stays number 1. I gave up on their FPI bullcrap, 5 years ago. That FPI is the most.
Yeah, you throw it away.
When LSU went to Tuscaloosa and beat them on their home field, and it came back and said, "Well, Alabama still had them in FPI." I threw FPI completely away. It is the most garbage stat of anything. I mean, it's worse than
Alabama's not number 1.
It's worse than the 3-out, nobody on, 3-run save. In Major League Baseball. FPI is. I almost cussed on the radio. That's how aggravated I am with that stat, Yeah, well, we just watched. They go on that field with Tua and beat them. Yeah, Alabama's still better. Okay, well, fine. Then some gump somewhere runs FPI, all right? FPI is crap, absolute crap. Did you watch the basketball game last night?
Alabama still gets you, huh, Charlie?
No, yes. In that case, yes.
No,
they lost 2 games.
Saban's gone. It's over.
They lost to Vanderbilt. It doesn't matter. FPI's got them number 1.
Texas is running the league now, Charlie.
That. I'll give it Texas this. They managed to get over on Alabama schedule-wise, which is very,
got
very
over
hard.
On everybody.
Very, very hard to do. Yeah,
Oklahoma's been kicking their ass
Alabama had been running scheduling in this league since the 60s, and Texas managed to get over on them. No small feat. Give them credit. FPI is still Alabama's. I don't want to get fined today. It ain't worth it. But yes.
Big win for Mark Pope, man. I thought it was more important for them. That Duke team is loaded, man, and they still beat them with so many new pieces. They're going to force up threes. They're perimeter oriented. I mean, but that Duke team, man, that big guy, that rim defender,
Maluch. That's how I call it. Maluch or Malach.
The freshman from Maine is
Cooper Flagg.
I mean, he's fun to watch. He it's funny. He's not super like highlight reel. Just does everything really, really well. Yeah. Only 17 still too.
I'm hoping that we can stay out of the Ryan Williams at 17 things.
They're deep. They're deep. They're loaded. That was a great win for Kentucky last night. And it was cool. It was in Atlanta, so you could have a lot of those fans who made it for a great atmosphere. Now, more Kentucky than Duke, Big Blue Nation.
You've been to the SEC basketball tournament when it was in Atlanta?
I've been to they take over wherever it is.
Yeah, but Atlanta especially, I guess, is.
Nashville, Charlie.
Yeah,
Orlando,
absolutely.
Wherever it is, they take over. New Orleans.
The Georgia Dome was so much bigger than the other venues, I guess, is why I noticed it when I went a couple of times. And yes, they bring everybody.
They can't get tickets a lot of times.
Yes,
home games.
They can't get tickets at Rupp, so they go. When they get into an arena like the Georgia Dome or something like that. This is what struck me as I listened to the broadcast. Billis obviously does his homework, and you listen to all this. We talked about how Kentucky moved the basketball yesterday, and I think it was 52 assists and 73 baskets or whatever. Well, they did that again last night. 17 assists on 25 made baskets, but they also shot 40% from 3, which is what they did in their first 2 games. What has been the big knock on Calipari is that they didn't shoot enough threes, and they certainly didn't make enough threes. Here's what else was different with Kentucky.
Well, he was taking future NBA players who were not polished basketball players at the time.
Which is what Duke's starting lineup last night featured all players that were teenagers. Kentucky started 5 guys who were all 21 or over. They got transfers in there. It's an experience, which is exactly the opposite of what Calipari did. He had some transfers. Sheboy was probably the most high profile one recently, but these are experienced guys. They're not necessarily all 5 stars. Experienced guys that can shoot the basketball, and they share it. And they didn't get dominated on the boards last night. They're going to be a problem. and I kind of missed this. Maybe I just read over it because we're in the middle of football season. I didn't realize they'd been picked 8th in the SEC. I think the 8th best team in the SEC.
No.
I wouldn't think what I watched last night.
The big guy from Duke is that young too?
The kid from Sudan, Mulach.
He played on their Olympic team?
Yeah, apparently, because
God,
that was
he's a beast at defending the rim, man.
Yes, he is. And, he at one point he kind of turned his knee or whatever and had to go out for a few minutes, and you could tell the difference when he was.
But this is a
game.
recipe that's been, some of the mid majors that come on. They talk about them redshirting a lot of their players and stuff like that. I mean, that's San Diego State has had some success with it. The team like Oakland out of Michigan last year was one of those teams. Now, so it's a familiar recipe. It's just it's completely flipped from Calipari's approach. No, in his roster build.
And Mulach is 18. He's a fully
loaded.
Physically mature. He's 250 pounds, man. At 7'2".
Wow.
Imagine Dikembe Mutombo in college,
so the
35
transfer
pounds
from
heavier.
Tulane, the big guard, he's not young.
They're all under 20. Everybody they started last night was under 20. According to what Bill has said, I mean, I didn't go check him. I just trusted. I just trusted Billis's number
because Duke looks more talented. They do. So,
I liked what I saw out of Kentucky last night. That to me looked like the way basketball should be played.
I saw Ole Miss is ranked. Ole Miss basketball.
Yeah. Well, Chris Beard demanded
Ole Miss
a whole bunch of
football is going to the
stuff.
playoff. We're not. They're ranked. We're not.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is going on?
It's Mincy's world. We're just living in it.
But we got women's basketball, and we got baseball and gymnastics.
Ole Miss's women's basketball team's not bad, by the way. We watched it the other day in France.
The two biggest sports, and what? Huh? Ole Miss is better?
Mincy's world, man.
Oh,
just living in
God. Don't forget my friends over at Legacy Title, Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title for all of you real estate closings, 296-0060, full-service title company, servicing all of South Louisiana. Our great team at Legacy Title, Ashley Donald, Mariana Haynes, Adrian Galata, Michael Platt, buying, building, refinancing. Nobody chooses but you. Choose Chad Reynolds, Legacy Title, 296-0060.
Live from Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Let's talk to Randy McKay, our NFL handicapper, each and every Wednesday on the show. Randy, how you doing, buddy?
Not doing real well. I had a nice big week last week, and even though the weather's been pretty bad here, it's starting to clear up, but everything's going well, and looking forward to have a strong finish to the rest of the season here.
Yeah, Broncos winner, Steelers winner, Bengals winner. So very good last week. Well, without further ado, let's get right to it before Charlie shoves us up against the break. Okay, Charlie, this is where you
do nothing.
Go ahead, Randy. Who are we looking at this week?
Yeah, I'm looking at a team that hasn't been very well at covering this year, the Tennessee Titans.
Oh, Charlie, this is your cue. He tells me about the Titans every Sunday.
I asked Jimmy last week, Randy, at the end of the year when he declared his taxes, if he could claim the Titans as a dependent.
That's a pretty good one.
Tennis. Okay.
This will be back-to-back road games for them. Similar spread to last week, where it's right around that 6-7 mark. Jacksonville, of course, Lawrence didn't play, and that line went up. This is a tough spot for Minnesota, back-to-back, and they got 3 straight road games, and I like this Tennessee defense, how they're playing. They're one of the better defenses in the league. Going to give this offense some trouble here with Darnold, starting to regress a little bit in this Viking offense. Teams are starting to figure them out a little bit. I think this number's too big. I could see this being a grinder-type game. I could see Tennessee controlling the clock. Even though their offense hasn't performed very well, their running game hasn't been that bad. So hopefully their quarterback's don't disrupt what could be a pretty easy cover here, and this should be a close game.
Randy, we talk about this a lot, but Darnold, should he be a starter or should he be a backup? In some of those backups, there's a shelf life, and once you start to see their tendencies, I mean, opposing defenses can take advantage of it. He's really flattening out right now after a really hot start. It's kind of, you think that's what's happening here?
Yeah, I think a little bit of that. And the Vikings never been a really, strong team to travel on the road. They're more built for that dome. So,
right.
You're seeing some trouble here with that. And then they got to play Chicago next week. Of course, Chicago has their own troubles, as we've seen against New England last weekend as well. And they got a tough game against Green Bay. But, this is a tough spot here for the Vikings, and then going down to Nashville again after traveling to Jacksonville.
I mean, he threw 3 interceptions, no touchdowns on Sunday, only 6.3 yards per attempt. Those are rough numbers. But this is my favorite stat, Charlie. Did you hear that one? Minnesota took more snaps in Jacksonville territory than Jacksonville took snaps, period. It did not cover. It did not cover.
That's the old we made more free throws than the other team attempted. I was just going to go with the fact that they almost lost to Mac Jones.
Okay, that's the other half of the story. Was the Jaguars' total offense for the game 143 yards?
Right.
Is that the lowest in a season in the league this year?
It's got to be pretty close. Plus Jones threw 2 interceptions.
Oh, they had 3 turnovers too.
Some of those Miamis there when they had some of those backups going there. So yeah, it had to be right up there. Miami was the lowest scoring team going into last week. Of course, they did have a nice performance against the Rams.
The Miami-Seattle game was a doozy. There is no doubt about that. I'm going to pull that one up. All right, who else? Who next after we got Tennessee? Charlie's not going to bet them, though. I'm going to let you know.
I'm going to lay off that one. God bless.
Well, you guys are going to finally like this because I don't know if I've given this out very often on this show, but I'm actually going to back the Chiefs. Them getting points here, I just don't see them not keeping this game close. And then, 2.5 now in effect. Of course, a great teaser play here with the Chiefs, I think, this week. I've been down a little bit on this Bills team, even though they've been winning. They've been doing it with a lot of turnovers on defense, even though their defense isn't very good. And they're missing offensive players this week. Coleman out, and potentially Kincaid and Cooper, both are questionable. So I think the Chiefs will have the better, offensive talent on the field. And these games have been close. All these games over the years have come right down to a field goal here or there. So see some value here. This game opened a pick, is up to 2.5 against a team that hasn't lost since last Christmas. I'm going to stay with the Kansas City Chiefs there.
Guys, is this one of those deals, the professional equivalent of Alabama getting points or Georgia getting points? They're so seldom an underdog that they've only been an underdog once before this year.
I think there's some KC fatigue, but KC has not been a great covering machine.
As a
team,
favorite,
okay?
As a favorite.
Well, they've been favored in every game, but
except one. At the Niners, they were a small dog.
And so those people who bet Kansas City that game were probably back, but Buffalo's real public too, Yeah. I mean, they've been covering. What is their number against the spread? It seems like they've been covering a lot this year. So, anyway, all right. Oh, by the way, the Dolphins had 200 yards of total offense in that game against 205 against the Seahawks when they were that bad.
6-4, but 5 of their last 6 the Bills have covered.
And that other one against the Colts. Remember that? They ran the ball. Remember that one? That was a horrible beat, Miami against the Colts that day. They had, but that 143 is. I think that's a low. That's kind of like Surette's light bill, electricity bill. Show me
June.
Prove me. Show me something lighter than that. One more, Randy. Who else? Your last top 3 pick this week?
I'm going to go with the Bengals here on the road, getting 2. they're off extra rest. And the crazy last Thursday game where, we got the money, even though they lost the game, they smartly went for 2 and didn't get it. I can see this turning around a little bit here for the Bengals. They're potentially getting 2 offensive weapons back. The big tackle Brown didn't play against Baltimore, and neither did Higgins, so we might get those 2 guys back. And I can't see this Charger team, even though they have pretty good defense, they get behind here. They're just kind of like a ball-controlled team.
Yeah.
Cincinnati's team's been up and down, especially on defense. Their defense hasn't been good, but their offense won a top in the league. And another key point here, there's 6 teams playing into a bye, and Cincinnati is one of them. So I like the situation where I feel like the teams go all out, try to win this game. They're not going to wave any flags if they do get down. I can see Cincinnati getting in the lead, and then the Chargers with no home field also having trouble coming back here. So getting value here, getting points.
Randy, I wanted to bring that up, too. I'm glad you brought up the Bengals-Chargers game because 2 of the 3 o'clock games, our time, Central Time, I mean, you're talking about stylistic differences. A heavy offense, finesse can't really stop anybody on defense against 2 ball-control teams. Falcons and Bengals are the same teams playing at Denver and at the Chargers. This was a little bit predictable for Jim Harbaugh to lean on this, this approach. But then, I got to give Sean Payton some credit. This is not something that he's done, that we saw a whole lot, this type of approach, but it's the best approach for his team right now.
Yeah, I definitely like this Bengal team having a little stronger chance, even though the Falcons looks pretty good. Looks like a pretty good play in the teaser if you want to take them up to 8.5. But I could see that being a grinder-type game, too, But I just don't like this Falcon team traveling on the road, and see if they can hold this Denver rushing attack down, which, you guys seen last week. They didn't hold the Saints down very well. Saints got a nice win there, and that was good, too. That was in my contest, one of my contest entries that went 5-0. So good start to the quarter. So good win for you guys down there in New Orleans land, and we'll see what happens here with the Cleveland Browns.
It was certainly a much better effort than we've seen. But, Charlie, what is the difference? If Koo kicks like he did in Atlanta, the Saints lose.
I'm going to give the Saints credit for blocking the 1, but, yeah, if he makes the other 2, they still lose the game by 3.
He made 58-yarder.
He missed 4 the whole year, and he missed 3 in this game. 1 of them was blocked. So that's a completely off resume, for him. He's been one of the best, one of the most consistent kickers.
Randy, the Saints were outgained 2-1 in that one. Now they play Cleveland. A little homecoming of sorts for Jameis Winston. You have an opinion on that?
Maybe a little value with the Browns. The Browns have extra rest here. Get Jameis, Winston a little on track with the offense. I would definitely look to tease that up, but I see another close, like grinder defensive style game. This Cleveland team does have a pretty good running attack, so they could control the ball a little bit on the Saints. So we'll see what the Saints can do on offense against that. Cleveland team that you just don't know what kind of defense you're going to get. Some weeks it looks like one of the better ones in the league, and then some weeks the teams just pick them apart. So tough game to call there.
Hey, Randy, what about tomorrow night? What are you hearing on Robinson? Because I think that physical, that's a guy that they I think missed a little bit. This was a season low on yards for the Redskins, the Commanders last week against the Steelers. So still high scoring, a little deceiving, but 243 yards total offense. This line opened 3. Steady Eagles action has it at 3.5 right now.
Yeah, don't worry, Jimmy. I still call them the Redskins as well, and probably will the rest of my life. But yeah, as far as I see with Robinson here, he's still questionable with that hamstring, so don't know what you're going to get here. Good effort by the Commanders, even though I had Pittsburgh in that game. That was a very good game. There was probably some early value there with the Eagles at 3, but at 3.5, I just don't see a play. Maybe look to under. I see the totals up to 49. I would maybe lean under in that game, the under the 49.
All right, Randy. Follow Randy on Twitter at RR39 for all of his picks. All of his posts and things like that. We have his picks again this week: Tennessee, Kansas City, in Cincinnati. We'll relay any late picks that he has on Football Sunday as well. Thank you, Randy. Have a good week. Good luck, man. Congratulations on your great week last week.
All right, thanks, guys, and good luck, everybody out there.
Don't forget our friends at Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown, 343-1111 or ocbrown.com. Go to their website and you can check out the firm's history, the different attorneys that we have on our team, our legal team at the law offices of O.C. Brown, dedicated to protecting your rights, fighting for the justice that you deserve. You can click on schedule a free consultation. That's easy. Car accidents, criminal law, other type of legal needs. Take advantage of that free initial consultation, 343-1111 and ocbrown.com. Dana Brown at the law offices of O.C. Brown.
Live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So, Charlie, I did a little digging at least on your favorite power index.
Yeah.
The ESPN FPI.
The FPI,
and I agree with you. But back in 2019, they didn't keep Alabama the whole year at number one.
Did they put somebody else up there?
Well, LSU beat the most ranked top 10 teams ever by a lot.
Yeah.
Beat the most teams that finished in the top 10 by a lot.
Mm-hmm. I was at almost all of those games.
But LSU was third.
Third.
At the end of the
Which,
Alabama was fourth.
really?
Yes.
Who's first? Clemson?
Ohio State.
Ohio State.
And
of course.
Clemson was two.
Right. There's only one. We were debating whether that 2019 LSU team should have been first, second, or third, except we were debating with the 2001 Miami Hurricanes and the 1995 Nebraska Cornhuskers. So, yeah, I could see where
that's the rankings are so okay, but there is some historical relevance to them. I mean, even though they're not perfect, gives you to beat the most top 10 teams. Well, that's when they rank. Well, Texas wasn't a top 10 team. They didn't finish close to being a top 10 team in 2019.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay? Now, they played a pretty tough game, that game against LSU. Well, all right, but still. But the most at the time and the most that finished in the top 10, it's not close. It's not close.
Good enough for third place, apparently.
For that year.
You have just given me the poster statement on FPI. The 2019 LSU Tigers. I didn't even know that. I thought they finished second to Alabama. They finished
You were
third.
too busy trying to claim to be the best ever. They were third. Third's good.
Hour
We'll
number
take third
2
this
straight
year.
ahead, Modesto. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at Modesto live at lunch. You can order your Thanksgiving meal from Roca by 5 o'clock on Sunday, November the 22nd, RocaPizzeria.com. Also, Modesto Catering for game days, any occasion, 478-0860. Come on out to Modesto. The last two home games, game day specials, 32-ounce and gallon margaritas, frozen or on the rocks, here to go. And we've got the new chef's tacos that we're going to try
That's right.
a little bit later on today. Let's bring in our friend Scott Rabelais from The Advocate. Rab, good afternoon. How are you?
You called me friend? That's very touching.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Hello, friend. Are we at the Masters Equinox yet? Is this,
we're past. I totally dropped the ball on that. We are well past the Masters Equinox. Oh, yes,
Okay.
yes. And we are closer to the start of the 2025 Masters than we are to the the end of the 2024 Masters.
Now,
how many trees are still standing there after that hurricane? That's another question.
Yeah, nobody's really produced some really good pictures that I've seen. Maybe there's some out there. I don't know. You got a chance to listen in every week, of course, but particularly curious this week on Brian Kelly and some of the things he had to say on the SEC teleconference. He talked a lot about his quarterback and some of the things that are ailing him. I don't want to say it got lost because we certainly talked about it a lot, but it wasn't the major story. The major story was Milroe after the game. But Nussmeier has had his problems the last 2 weeks for sure, and Kelly had a little bit to say about that.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he said he's still our guy. He gives him the best chance to win. Wilson Alexander asked him, very plainly, our lead beat writer, if they were considering any changes. And he said no. He said he gives us our best chance to win. But he clearly has to work on mechanics. He's got to work on his footwork. He talked about simplifying things, and that's never. I don't know if it's a red flag for you guys. That's never what you want to hear, especially this late in the season. And we're talking about simplifying the game plan or the formations or whatever. But clearly, what's happened with Nussmeier is he's a gunslinger. He thinks he can throw a football through a mail slot. But he has taken on a lot of responsibility on this offense to feel like he's got to make them move forward and maybe take too many chances. And the result is, Charlie and Jimmy, he's now thrown 11 interceptions on the season. That is the most for an LSU quarterback since Jarrett Lee's 16 in 2008. And obviously they got 3 games to go. It's a lot.
Yeah, it's not – the mechanical issues are not something that just cropped up last week against Alabama. I mean, on the Sunday show, Mike Delicano has been talking about this for – weeks that he's been thrown off his back foot. So maybe he was getting away with it, in some other games.
Shouldn't take a loss to correct that.
Right. But you said, you don't want to hear that. I would rather hear that it's mechanically based than that it's mental or that, he physically can't do it, because at least the mechanical things are correctable. Now, whether they can get it corrected that quickly, I don't know. What was your read on what we saw Saturday night? Because that was a shellacking in a game that really should have been a lot, going into it we thought would be a lot closer.
The field goal kicking was better. They fixed
ever the optimist, Scott. Thanks.
No, that was really bad to get against Texas A&M, but that was better. Look, it's a team that it's so puzzling when these things just go off the rails like they have. This is a team that was confident and playing with a bit of a swagger and dominating the game against Texas A&M through 2.5 quarters, and then things have just gone to hell since then. They've been outscored 73-19, and it just continued against Alabama. Alabama they knew where to hit LSU, and they did defensively, and they were able to pressure LSU, and make Nussmeier uncomfortable. And just the critical penalty. There's some critical penalties. The offense bogs down. It keeps getting itself bogged down. They make a mistake or certainly a turnover, but they get a negative play or they get stopped for no gain, and the running game's not helping. And it's it's obviously a bad way to fly. It's a bad way to try to build some confidence and momentum. And that was about as bad as it could be against an Alabama team. And like I've written and said, this is not the 2020 Alabama team that came in here and won like 55-17 on its way to the national championship. This is not the 2011 Alabama team. It's a very good team, but it's not an all-time great Alabama team. And things just got out of hand for LSU. And if anyone, you and I texted Charlie, right, Saturday night, that whatever we say or write, is not enough for LSU fans who are feeling disappointed and disgruntled and unhappy and questioning the direction of the program under Brian Kelly. It's not objectively awful. They're not 3-6. He's not 10-26 as LSU's coach. He's 26-10. But it's not as good as it needs to be or should be. But as I wrote the other day, they've got to go forward with Kelly financially and for what they where they are in just still in year 3. They got to go forward with him. I don't see they have much choice.
This is the impression I get listening to him, and I can sense his frustration building. And this is just my opinion. Nobody's told me this. This is just me. When I listened to Kelly talk the last couple of weeks, I get the sense that he just wants to blurt out, we don't have good enough players. Just don't have good enough players. And I would be a lot more sympathetic to him if that wasn't his fault. But in year 3, that's his fault. Okay, whether it be staffing, recruiting, NIL budget, whatever, you get the big office, you get the good parking spot, that's on you, boss, okay? And I know he's trying to censor himself because if you come out and say that, first of all, everybody's going to say the same thing I did, which is that's your fault. And then the second thing is you're throwing the players under the bus and you can't criticize anybody these days. So, but that's the impression I get, is that he just goes and says, you know what, we can work on the quarterback's footwork and we can work on some schematic things and all that. But at the end of the day, we just ain't got good enough players, and we better start. They did this at the end of last season. We better reevaluate how we're going about accumulating players, and that's recruiting staff, which they've addressed all of that. But you're playing catch up. You're playing catch up from 2 years of subpar recruiting.
100%, Charlie. And he did say that in so many words at his Monday press conference. I mean, he's without saying that as directly as you said it, of course, and he just can't. I mean, you can't say that for a lot of reasons. But Kirk Herbstreit said it, I think, during the broadcast. Right? He said they got to recruit their way out of this, and why did they get in this position? Because he kept Brian Polian as his recruiting coordinator, and not only were special teams a disaster, but they had this recruiting philosophy that didn't work well for LSU. They didn't seem to know that you recruit East Texas to the Florida Panhandle, and occasionally you try to go far afield for a Bryce Underwood if you can lure them or something like that, but you don't have to. You have to go all over the country like they did at Notre Dame. And of course, he didn't keep recruiters like Corey Raymond. And whether he should have kept Blake Baker at the time or not, Blake Baker wasn't Blake Baker. He didn't have the reputation he built in Missouri. And obviously, people are like, well, he didn't do good lately. Yeah, okay, that's true. But the defense. You have to look at the whole season, has improved. But yeah, they're behind because of some of the mistakes he made in terms of putting together a staff, bringing in a staff. And every coach is allowed to do that. I was asked again the other day about Tommy Moffitt, the fact that he's not here at LSU anymore. He brought his strength guy from Notre Dame. A coach is entitled to do that. I don't think any coach should ever be said, well, you can have this job, but you got to keep this guy and this guy and this guy. That's not the way it should work. And then you got to sink or swim. And they're not sinking, but they're certainly, their head's going underwater once in a while, and they're kind of just paddling in place. They do have a very good recruiting class on paper right now that they have a chance to sign next month. It's number 3 in the country. It's the kind of class that you can build with and grow with and be begin to be a championship contender. But it's going to take more time than people want it. It's not going to happen next season. It's probably going to be 2026, and that's hard for people to take, and I understand that.
What's realistic for the rest of this? I mean, you got 25% of the schedule left here. What and for the moment, let's stay out of the scenarios that get them to the SEC championship game. I know what they are. I know Max was just going through them with us during the break. I understand that they exist. For the moment, let's just keep it to one game at a time. If they win one and some things fall their way, we'll get into that next week. But what's realistic to hope for the last 3 games?
It's realistic to hope that they could win their last 3 games. I mean, they're favored, and rightly so. But tell me how healthy DJ Lagway is and how available he is for Saturday's game. Billy Napier was understandably somewhat vague about that. He said that he's trending in the right direction. Then, of course, you have Diego Pavia to deal with. And then Oklahoma, they have a good defense, but they're challenged offensively, and I think you're going to win that game at the end of the season at home. But I could see them splitting one of these next 2. These next 2 games, because of the quarterbacks and the challenges that they provide. And now, if Florida's got to stick with the third string quarterback, then it certainly increases LSU's chances of winning considerably. But I think 9-4 is certainly realistic. 9-3 is realistic to expect, but 8-4 seems just about as realistic at this point as well.
Jimmy, what was their win total before the season in Vegas?
I think it was 9.
8.5, 9, right?
I don't think it was 8.5. I think
but right about where they're going to end up, right?
It was right. I think it was 8.5, 9. I said I couldn't get off a 9-3 this year. You had 10-2, but it was 8.5 or 9. Yeah.
So that somebody asked me this yesterday. Says, what did you predict at the beginning of the season? I said 9 or 10 wins. I said, what did Vegas predict? 8 or 9 wins. Okay. And where are they going to end up? There's a pretty good chance they're going to end up at 9 wins. So why has everybody got their nose all out of joint? I said, because they don't want that. They don't want to lose. That's why.
Well,
there's a difference between being, you just throw out a number in August and then you actually have to watch it play out. But this is, by the numbers, kind of close to where they were supposed to be, right?
Yeah, but Charlie, this is one of we're going back to Curly Home in the 58-3 game. We're going back. This is one of maybe the cigar game, the Auburn when it was the season. It was either the conference opener or season opener when they were rotating Rohan, Nall, and Booty, and it was 41-3. I mean, this was an all timer as far as just a level of
this game, the expectation versus the result. Yeah, sure.
This was real
this
surprise.
This is up there.
How badly you were beaten to the point where you're trying to play like the rent-a-win and you're trying to hustle a cheap touchdown at the end.
Yeah. All 9 and 3s are not created equal. Scott, what?
And I'll say this: I think 9 and 3 before the season, when SEC 9-3 was getting you in the playoff, it ain't getting you in.
No, there's too many. There's too many
unless
two-loss teams.
Unless you win out, it's a little like 2001 though, guys. I know you don't want to talk about all the scenarios that get in the SEC championship, but remember how badly they got hammered by Florida midway through that season?
I remember them losing to Ole Miss that year. I remember more.
I asked Scott. I think your question to Brian Kelly was similar to my question in 2001. I basically asked Saban, "Can you win Can you win the league here?" And you were, in so many words, it's kind of what you thought things in place. But let's face it, Scott, we're at a different time than 2001. We had lost 6 out of 7 years. We just played in the Peach Bowl and had to negotiate our way into the Peach Bowl. And now you have things in place. The last 3 coaches have won national championships. In year 3, he's not getting in a 12-team playoff. It's a different time. It's a different time.
No, all that is fair. All that is fair. Yeah, I think for the first time you can say, and LSU fans can say, legitimately, people, a lot of people want to fire the coach every time they punt, but I mean, legitimately, that they're not getting their money's worth with Brian Kelly and certainly this staff. Look, they've given him just about everything they need. Is LSU? We can debate, right? Are they at the top of the NIL game? No, but clearly they're in the hunt to be getting a Bryce Underwood, assuming they get him, assuming they keep him. I know Michigan is going to make a big push and everything, but
Saban was just starting to build those resources, and that support is in place. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, they. I mean, it's just a different. It's a different deal. You got a lot more to sell. You've had a stretch where you had the most. Well, they still have like 3rd or 4th most players in the NFL right now. I mean, it's top 5.
Yeah.
It wasn't top 5 in 2001.
No. I can remember there was at least one year where they didn't have anybody drafted in the 90s, man. And a couple of years were just a couple. Scott, last thing, any thoughts on the CFP poll from last night?
Nothing too shocking other than I don't know. I guess the fact that it looks weird when Miami is kind of down the rankings after their loss to Georgia Tech, but they're one of the seed. They're one of the teams that's getting a bye into the quarterfinals. They're projected as they're the top team from their conference and the ACC, and the top team from the ACC gets one of those 4 byes into one of the 4 quarterfinal bowl games. That takes some getting used to, I think, but. South Carolina leapfrogged LSU. Of course, I mean we're talking way down the list, but they're trending in a good direction, and LSU's not trending in a good direction. But no, it's playing out pretty. We're still looking for more chaos, right? I don't think we've seen the last of it, so we'll see how much things get shaken up the rest of the way. But the hue and cry from number 13 on December 8th is going to be something to behold. I think. I'm sure.
No, number 13 will have lost at least 2, if not 3 games, so their case will be minimal. I'll be able to sleep fine. I had a hard time getting my mind around 13-0 Florida State not getting in. I will have no problem with a 9-3 SEC team staying home. They will have had their chances. Scott, we appreciate the time. We'll talk to you next week. Safe travels to Florida.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Don't forget our friends over at United Community Bank, the local way to bank big, with locations from Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow, including their newest branch at Burbank and Bluebonnet. We've been serving the people of southern Louisiana for over 50 years. You know, running a business can be difficult enough without the right relationship with your bank. With United Community Bank's local business bankers, you're not just a number, you're a partner. Our great team of bankers, Prentice Wilkes, Heath Meir, Nicole Glover, Hunter Creed, David Campbell, and David Henry. Stop on by and see how we can help your business today. United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. One other thing that was different in 2001, the guy with eight tickets on Section 301, 35-yard line.
What about him?
He paying face value. He won't pay that tradition fund either.
It's a little bit more expensive.
A little different, huh?
No, yeah. The noise is a little bit more. There was no social media in 2001 either. So the outside noise is a little bit.
You're asking more of your fans, Charlie. That was a big deal in 2000 and 2002.
And there's a lot more noise now. A lot more noise than there was back then.
A lot more support.
Yeah, with great, come this responsibility.
Great resources come great expectations.
Yeah, that's right. Attaboy, Spider-Man. We'll take a break live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
From east, north to south, but we're heading west. It's Wes Reynolds from VSiN.
Wes, we saw you posting something of Caitlin Clark. Were you with Caitlin Clark at a golf tournament, Wes? I know you're a golf handicapper. We didn't know you were teaming up with her in a golf tournament, huh?
Yeah, I know. I wish I could have teamed up with Caitlin Clark and Nelly Corda, but they probably would have put me to shame today. I certainly would have been the worst in that bunch. But, yeah, it's amazing. A Pro-Am for an LPGA event, this being the Annika Sorenstam's event down in Florida, had a Pro-Am today, and Caitlin Clark, of course, was participating in that. And the fact that they're actually covering it live on a Wednesday, and she's getting mobbed by fans on a Wednesday morning Pro-Am with a 7 a.m. tee time. Look, she's got a big reach. Maybe the WNBA will realize that at some point.
She does. She's a star, man. There's no doubt. Were you surprised though when she made first team all at WNBA? You followed a little bit more than me.
No, I wasn't. I think she absolutely deserved it, and she became the clear-cut rookie of the year as the season went on. So look, she improved. She got better after the second half of the season, and maybe the Olympics. And not making that team was really good for her because she had, took some time off and then, kept getting better, worked on her game, and she's working in the off season too. So, we'll see if she plays. And they have this little 3-on-3 league that Nafisa Collier and Brianna Stewart have started called Unrivaled. She has not committed to that yet, but obviously they would like to have her from a television standpoint.
It surprised me. And I watched more WNBA this year than most. I had future bets both ways, hit a middle on the Fever, with their original one under and then midseason at 14.5 over. And I agree. I mean, she certainly improved. The team improved. That's why I bet the over midseason. But and it was schedule related too, but I didn't think she was one of the top 5 players in the league. I mean, I think she will be. She's on her way. She had a good rookie season. She deserved to be Rookie of the Year. No argument with all of that. I just thought that. That's why I asked. You watch it more than me, so. But I thought it was a little almost like it was a consolation because they left her off the Olympic team. If you're one of the top 5 players of WNBA, shouldn't you be on the Olympic team? Should it be a no-brainer? Something's not right.
Well, she probably wasn't at that time because she was struggling a little bit because she was early in her rookie season. But, Jimmy, I look at where she is and where she's going to be. She is better than comparable guards. Like, to me, she is better, I think, almost right now than Sabrina Ionescu. I think she's better than Kelsey Plum, who's right here at the Las Vegas Aces. I just think she does so much more things with the basketball, and the shooting, working on that form is going to come along. But, the fact that teams have to game plan to stop her, and they give her so many rebounds because it's like they got to get back on defense because she's going to be go, go, go.
Let's move to college football. Who are we looking at this week, Wes?
Yeah, a few plays this week. One I'm going to go to, and I went to it last week, and it survived despite a questionable call there at the end against the Utes. But I'm going back against BYU this week, Jimmy. It's same time. It's the late night after dark game this week. They're only laying 3. I got some 3.5. Also took some 3 because those were disappearing. And you've got a 3-6 Kansas team only getting a field goal on the road against an undefeated team that would be in the college football playoff. And I think that there's a reason why, because I think the market knows that BYU, I don't want to call them necessarily a house of cards, but they've been very fortunate this year. They should have got beat by Utah, had some bad officiating at the end. Utah's had rotten injury luck. And another team that's had rotten luck this year is Kansas. They're 0-5 in one-score games, but we were on them last week against Iowa State, who had just lost their undefeated season and then got to go away from home in Arrowhead, even though they had more people there, and Kansas got them. So I think this Kansas team is a little bit better than a 3-6 record, and so does the market.
Yeah, and Kansas also, you were talking about improving over the course of the season. Jalen Daniels lost his offensive coordinator to Penn State, and he was struggling early, but he's rolling now, about 500 yards the last 3 games. Even in the loss at Kansas State, toe-to-toe with them into Little Apple, that is pretty good. And they were in all 6 of those games, even the one they lost by double digits, they had the lead in the fourth quarter of play. So, no, they've been – it's a deceiving record. There's no doubt. It's going to be a lot of fun. See how BYU handles the pressure, because what's going to win out? That home field advantage is really good, but, man, this pressure is building a little bit. I'm not sure. What do you think if they go undefeated 12-1 but lose in a Big 12 championship game? Are they in the playoff?
I don't know, because, I'm kind of, thinking about how this is going to shake out. It looks like there's going to be 4 teams in the Big Ten with Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, and Indiana. And then you're at least getting 3 in the SEC, maybe 4, Notre Dame and the Group of 5 team, which might be Boise State, are in. And I wonder if we're only going to get 1 out of the ACC and out of the Big 12, because the team that's getting the buzz out of the Big 12 right now, of course, is Colorado, because they're right in the mix here. They're still behind BYU, who's undefeated in the league, but you've got a big cluster of teams behind them. I personally think the best team that I've watched in the Big 12, just taking it from like a holistic perspective, is Kansas State. But they've already got 2 losses, and I do like K-State, by the way, over Arizona State today. That line dropped because Cam Scadaboo, the running back for the Sun Devils, is going to go, but I like K-State in that one. So you're going to get – I just feel like I don't know if you're going to get 2 out of the Big 12, Jimmy.
Do you like you said you like Kansas State. Who else do you like besides Kansas this week?
A favorite in the SEC, which has not been the way to go this year because underdogs have been reigning supreme, but I already took it, and it's on the move. I think Kirby Smart might be a little bit smarting, shall we say, being on the outside looking in right now out of the playoffs after they lost to Ole Miss, and we talked about that game on the show last week. I think they're coming for Tennessee, and I wonder if Nico, if he's going to be healthy. I have not. I know they beat Alabama, Jimmy, but I have not been impressed with Tennessee. They put up a bunch of big numbers against some bad teams. You're like, oh my God, this offense is like generational there in Knoxville, and then they've looked very ordinary to me, to be honest with you, in SEC play. I know they came back against Alabama, but we know Alabama's a little bit down from their usual standards. So I think this is maybe the spot for Georgia. I hesitate to say buy low considering they're a double-digit favorite, but I think they get after Tennessee here. And Georgia, to me, they've got the proof. They should still be in the playoff consideration or be in the rankings. But this team beat Texas on the road. So I think they're going to take it out on the Vols on Saturday.
No doubt, Texas, Tennessee, and Missouri. I mean, with such a big conference now, and then the league stepping in and changing things, there's a big disparity in the level of schedules. Tennessee, Missouri, and Tennessee, Texas, Missouri, and Tennessee get the favorable ones. The ones that got the short stick was Florida, Oklahoma, and Georgia. Those teams had some tough schedules. So no, I'm on the dogs big as well. Anybody else before we get to your pro pick?
Yeah, I played a little bit of held my nose here with a big fat underdog. I played a little Northwestern above 4 touchdowns against Ohio State. This game's going to be in Wrigley Field, and dare I say it, Jimmy, for maybe the first time in many years, Ohio State looking ahead to Indiana, and I think
yes.
that they very well could, considering Indiana last time they beat Ohio State, by the way, was 1988. So usually they're looking at Indiana because Indiana's homecoming in Columbus, pretty much almost every single time. Indiana's was like everybody's homecoming game. Maybe not so much anymore, but they're going against Northwestern. It's a low total. It's in Wrigley Field, so you could get a little wind, and some shaky weather. Ohio State, I know they were impressed with 45-0 over Purdue, but Purdue is like really, really bad. There's a big difference between everybody else in the conference and Purdue. They've been that bad this year. So I think Northwestern's going to compete. They don't have any more home games in that makeshift stadium anymore, so they get the Buckeyes in Wrigley. There'll be more Buckeye fans there, of course, because they travel really well. But I think Ohio State, this might be a little bit of a sleepy game for them because they get Indiana in that big game, even though it's the noon kickoff and not prime time the following week. And I think they might be looking ahead to the Hoosiers a little bit.
I think Indiana punched their ticket to the playoff last week. I did not see them beating Purdue, and I mean losing
Tell
to
the
Purdue.
ESPN guys that though. They're all over us. Even the college reporter Heather Dinich, who by the way was a former sports editor at the Indiana Daily Student at Indiana University, and she's like crusading for all these SEC teams. I'm like, Heather, you've covered so many bad IU football teams when you were a student. Let's be a little homerism, not too much, but a little bit here.
They were in a little bit of a game, but I mean they came through. So it was I thought it was right on. They were in a little danger. Michigan was a play away from getting into field goal range late in that game. Wes, who we looking at in the NFL this week?
Yeah, kind of a tough board this week, actually, in the NFL. Not like a ton really jumps out at me, but one that I did already play, I'm going to play the Denver Broncos on the money line. It's still less than 3 out there against Atlanta. We kind of saw Atlanta last week. That, their luck ran out, even though they were the better team in the second half against New Orleans. New Orleans had a really good first half and then just couldn't get anything going in the second half, but we're able to hang on for the interim coach for him to get his first victory. One thing about Atlanta that I don't like, Jimmy, is that they don't get a lot of pressure. They're 29th in pressure rate this season, so you will have time as a quarterback to really operate against these guys. And plus, Denver on defense, very good coverage. We saw what they did to the Chiefs. They probably should have won that game in Arrowhead. They also get some pressure here, and they like to blitz, and that's going to be tough for Kirk Cousins, who really just does not have that mobility anymore, of course, coming off the Achilles. So I like the Denver Broncos. I think that they're going to get the win outright at home and, not going to be crying in their beer too much, even though they should have beaten Kansas City last week.
All right. Follow Wes on Twitter at Wes Reynolds 1. So
I just had to mention this. That 88 Indiana team beat Ohio State 41-7. Okay, it's one of the last times Ohio State's had a losing record. They only had one losing record since '88. That was the Fickle year where he had to take over.
Who was
for
coaching
Tressel.
that team?
John
Bruce?
Cooper.
John.
I think it was John Cooper actually, because Indiana actually beat him back-to-back years. The last time they won in Columbus was actually 1987.
And the reason I remember it is because LSU played them 2 weeks before that, okay? And LSU blew a 2-touchdown lead at the shoe in the second half, and Ohio State beat them. And LSU lost to Miami that year by 41 points. They lost to Miami and a bad Ohio State team and won the SEC in 1988, one of the more unusual years at LSU.
Yeah, LSU was top 10 when they lost that lead in Columbus.
They were.
But,
They were number 7.
Look ahead line. It was Ohio State is 9.5 over Indiana, so down to single digits next week in Columbus. Good luck, Wes. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you, buddy.
You bet, guys. Thanks for having me.
All right, don't forget our friends over at Supreme Rice and SupremeRice.com. You trying to get that restaurant quality to your boiled rice at home, you just can't seem to do it? I got it for you. Got to get the Parboil rice. Parboil rice is available. It's in one of our newest line of products, available at wherever you find Supreme Rice, just about all Baton Rouge area grocery stores. So Supreme Rice, Louisiana rice, grown, milled, processed in Crowley, Louisiana since 1936. So from the field to the mill to the table, we're right here in Louisiana for many, many generations, and looking for the future, for future generations of Louisiana rice farmers.
The Climate Smart program ensures that there'll be future generations. They're promoting methane emissions reductions, and water conservation. The Climate Smart program, you can see it on the packaging for Supreme Rice. For more information and great recipes, SupremeRice.com. Live at Modesto, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch.
Well, if you're looking for gifts, Dad's the hardest guy to buy for. We're getting closer to Christmas right now. Big savings at ThibodeauStore.com, and you can go straight to the website, have it delivered right to you. Cajun Cooking, specialty cookware, shipped right to your door. Cuisinart, Chef's classic stainless steel cookware sets among the things on special right now. There's huge savings all month long, and a lot of these specials are online only. Your rolling toolboxes there, some of your outdoor power equipment, cordless power tools, tool storage, and outdoor cooking. All of these things available at ThibodeauStore.com. With the delivery right to you, this can't be any easier. Of course, lots of fishing supplies down at the Thibodeau store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux. So for the do-it-yourselfers, you're always going to be able to get advice at the Thibodeau store. Don't leave it to a YouTube video. If you're going to be able to save some money and save some time, why wouldn't you talk to the experts? It's the difference between them and the big box stores. So if you're putting in a small light, you're pouring a little small piece of concrete, or you're doing some painting, let them help you out there, match the paint for you exactly. Let them help you out on any of those projects. 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodaux, the Thibodeau store, and online it's ThibodeauStore.com.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Status on Nico Amaliava. Still, he is in the concussion protocol. Left last week's game. The senior, Gaston Moore, finished up against Mississippi State. And Josh Heupel saying today on the teleconference that he had practiced on Monday, was in great shape, said it on Monday and today, was in great shape to play against Georgia. But there are conflicting reports out there about whether that, for instance, Bear Felica says that he doesn't think that Nico will play. Pete Thamel says he did dress in practice, but his status is undetermined. So
he hasn't played well to begin with.
Well, that's the other thing.
He's run for 200 yards once in an SEC game this year, and that was against Kentucky.
Yeah, 1,879 yards and 11 touchdowns overall this season. I kind of agree with Wes. I think that Tennessee could be going into a buzzsaw here at Georgia. You know, we talk about catching teams at the right time. You can catch them at the wrong time, too.
No, you catch them at a great time, but is Georgia capable of just annihilating somebody? Tennessee's defensive front is going to be there. Georgia, I love the under. I mean, I think Tennessee's going to have a hard time scoring. So a little bit of old school SEC game here. But, the strength of Tennessee's team is 100% their defense. I mean, look at the number. The numbers don't – we're 9 games into the season now. So it's not just about who you played and whatever. They are much better defensively than offensively. It's a switch. Hooker was a good quarterback, man. Yeah. Those guys are just – and it's maybe it wasn't just their system with him. But, You know, Nico, they're high on him. They think he's the guy. They think he's the perfect fit for their system, but he's not there yet, and he's not really close.
Right, and 48.5 total right now. I kind of like that along with you. The one equalizer is, I agree with you about Tennessee's defense. Carson Beck is the most turnover-prone quarterback in the conference, and if he gives you one or two on the wrong side of the field, that could skew things.
Well, guess what? Are you going to be able to run the ball against Tennessee?
I don't know. They couldn't run against Ole Miss.
Beck's going to have to make some throws to move the ball. Is my point.
Right. No, I think we're saying the same thing here.
Now they couldn't block. I mean, it was a pathetic. And look, they got to scheme it. I mean, the left tackle needed some help against that speed end, that undersized guy. I mean, it was on Beck before he could even set up Charlie. Sometimes, Walter Nolan and his guys at Pegues, but them guys on the edge were killing them on it.
So how would you compare Tennessee's up front defensive personnel to Ole Miss's?
Not as good, but close. Mm-hmm. They've been really good this year.
And so if Georgia's not able, let's say they run the ball a little bit better. I think they were just under 2 yards a carry against Ole Miss. So let's say they're a little bit better than that, which is still not good enough. And you put this game on Carson Beck.
Sacks are taken into there.
Sure.
You got to. It's. I could see a 23-3, 27-10. I like Georgia to win. Georgia's still got enough to where I don't care how good Texas is, they embarrass them. So they're capable of that. And Beck threw 2 or 3 interceptions in that game?
He throws 2 or 3 interceptions every game, it seems like, here lately. He's got 12 for the year.
He's got 12 in conference play.
Yeah, they're all in conference play. He didn't throw any in non-conference, I don't think.
10 and 12 in conference play. He rolled up some stats against Tennessee Tech or whoever it was. But he's I mean, I love the spot for Georgia. I love the spot. I mean, this is when's the last time their street cred in Athens ain't real good right now. I mean, it's at a low time. It's always good, Georgia football player, but man, they're listening to their coaches for the first time. They're getting after them pretty good. I expect a big and what Lane Kiffin alluded to too. If we took care of Kentucky, or if we both beat LSU too, will we have played with this kind of urgency and this kind of fire?
Right, and that's what I'm saying. You're catching Georgia. If you're a Georgia fan, I expect their best effort.
I'm on Georgia. I'm on Georgia, but I'm still a little worried about that protection and worried about Beck. And
Beck can get you beat.
I think Tennessee's defense can keep them from just getting humiliated in this one.
Yeah, and again, if Beck gives you one on the 20, you get a cheap score. You get a little bit of momentum.
Yeah, tough spot for Tennessee.
Yeah,
tough spot. And Nico's had one start in a tough environment, Arkansas, and he was terrible.
They did.
They held his hand against Oklahoma. They didn't let him throw.
Plus, Oklahoma's not good.
Yeah, they're not good, too.
That's the only 2 road games that they played this season.
Well, they got credit for the
they played
game.
a neutral site against
Florida.
Against NC State, Tennessee. I'm talking about Tennessee. That's the only 2 road games they played this season were Oklahoma and
Well, they got another
Arkansas.
one conference game at home?
Yeah, Vandy. Mississippi State.
No, they played that one already.
Right. The 2 SEC games they have left are both on the road. This one and they're at Vandy.
Oh, okay.
So they've only been on the road twice, and then they had the neutral site game in Charlotte against NC State, where I think the stadium was about 2/3 orange.
No, it was 50-50. They split the tickets. It was 50-50.
But I thought Tennessee outdrew them that day.
In NC State?
At the game in Charlotte?
No, it was 50-50.
Okay.
It was right. We did extensive research on that. Yeah, no, it was listed some places as an NC State home game. That's why we were making sure it was 50-50.
So he's had 2 hostile environments, Oklahoma and Arkansas.
And was it really hostile in Oklahoma?
Well,
It wasn't.
Oklahoma didn't give them a whole lot to. Their offense didn't score until the
this
fourth
is a
quarter,
tougher place to play than Fayetteville.
Just a touch, and we don't even know if he's going to play. I mean, if you're in a concussion protocol on Wednesday, do you really expect him to play? I don't.
I don't, and I don't fear him anyway.
And I don't blame Heupel for keeping the facade up, but I don't think he's going to play.
I don't think he's going to play either, Charlie. So, but if he does, I'm not worried.
He'll be listed as questionable tonight when the report comes out because that's what you do.
You can watch. You can sit. He could come out dressed out.
Sure.
And warm up.
Right.
And not play. It's where we are.
Probably what will happen, actually.
I mean,
that's kind of the chalk.
It is. It is a joke, man. It is a joke. Don't forget our friends at Total Diamond Performance. Total Diamond Performance, their fall high school baseball program. So they're right in the middle of the skills program, right in the middle of the second session. They have 3 different sessions. This session goes till November 22nd. But the last session, this will be ideal time right before you get right into the real preparation time and right around the corner from the holiday season and from your tournament season, November 25th to December 20th. Contact Nick Schneider, Nick at ttpbaseball.com. So a 4-week session over the course of November 25th to December 20th, and it offers skill acquisition training, throwing, hitting, defense, paired with strength and agility training, placed in small groups to optimize quality of instruction and maximize repetitions. Total Diamond Performance High School Fall Baseball Program. Last session, November 25th to December 20th.
Live at Modesto. Live at lunch. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Modesto on Burbank on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
National Signing Day, the early signing period for everything but football today. Jay Johnson and the LSU baseball team, #1 recruiting class in the country. Kim Mulkey, LSU women's basketball, #1 recruiting class in the country.
What?
You with me so far?
What?
Matt McMahon, men's
gymnastics,
basketball. I don't have the gymnastics thing, but I'm sure they're #1 or damn close to it. Here's the one that you need to perk your ears up for. Matt McMahon in LSU men's basketball, #6. #2 in the SEC behind only Kentucky.
Whoa. Charlie, where are you getting that?
The internet, it must be true.
Come on, Charlie.
Max has been telling you brush him off every day. He says, they're recruiting better.
#6 in the country?
#6 in the country. And there's still one on the hook for the late period. So, and behind only Kentucky in the SEC.
What?
Pretty good, huh? Pretty good. Just reporting the news here, Jimmy.
So when can we go back and start watching the games again, huh?
Tomorrow. You can watch tomorrow night. They play Kansas State.
The tournament team, do you think, this year?
I have no idea. I'm going to watch it tomorrow night against Kansas State. And
you didn't watch it
I'll
earlier?
let you know. I watched a little bit, but, I mean, I didn't see any of the SWAC game on Sunday. I watched a little bit last week. Let me watch them play somebody that's, like Kansas State, and I'll tell you what I think.
What's Kansas State have?
I have no idea. Tell you tomorrow night. Thanks to the folks here at Modesto. We're at Los Reyes tomorrow. Live at lunch, 12:45, ESPN Baton Rouge football season.